see where that comes from. That this is the exterior shape, the interior shape of
Swing it
this.
around.
You see, it's kind of transparent. It's just on a hard piece of plastic, and the reason I want to do that is when I'm drawing it on the wood, I want to see through it, and I also will turn it over to do the inside. And so if you just drawn it on something opaque, you wouldn't be able to easily see how to trace it on the inside. So that's that one, and then I think this is the one for this. So again, I don't always do that, but sometimes, and it does save a lot of thinking time when you're turning, if you know this is the pattern you're trying to get to. When you're drawing out your template, you have to remember that with this piece of wood, you can't just draw on this width, because you really do have more to use. If you were turning this to round, you couldn't get out here to the edge because you're gonna lose that wood immediately. But on many of mine, I want to keep all the way. I want to extend all the way out here. Okay, I'm not sure that I see one that comes out to an edge. But in order to do that, my template has to be a little wider than the width of the wood. So my drawing, you see how it's beyond the halfway point or the round point? If you want to know how far that is, the ratio is 1 to 1.414. So it's a 4.4 beyond. Let's see if I can show it here. You see that, Mike? Mm-hmm. So here's the width of my wood, and then here's how much taller it is going diagonal this way. Okay, so that just gets me out. If I want a flange to go a little farther out than round, that's what I would be doing. Or here's a good case where I went all the way out to the outer point. Mirror designs, for just starting out, this is the easiest thing to do. If you want to do something that just is something balanced, this is very simple, and this is kind of what I'll be showing you today. It's easy to conceptualize, and even when you turn on the lathe, you'll say, oh, I can actually see that shape as you're turning it. Same thing with the Christmas tree. And gosh, you could do letters if you wanted to that are balanced, hearts and diamonds, clubs, just lots of different designs that you could do that are balanced that way. You turn it round, and then you want to turn the silhouette of whatever you're trying to do, at least half the silhouette. Okay, good cuts. Never cut flat. When you're turning this, if you have, and I haven't used the easy tools, but they're kind of set so that you would keep them flat. The problem with that is, one, you're going to get tear out if it's a softer wood. The other is you're going right against the weakest point where you've glued it is the weakest point in this wood. So if you do get much of a catch, there's a likelihood of cracking it apart. And besides that, you really want that sheer cut. You want one point of your blade at an angle to the wood grain to get a nice shearing cut. I'll show this a little better when I'm actually on it, but you never want to have your blade flat. I would not use a scraper flat on this. It's just going to stress that joint real bad.
Riding the bevel becomes extremely important.
Riding the bevel, exactly. When you're trying to get a curve like this, it's so important that you're riding the bevel to keep it smooth, pivoting to keep that blade going in a smooth kind of way, and then having it at a sheer cut. And one of the things you'll notice, when you're not shear cutting, any other ways you're going to be knocking off little fibers. When you are shear cutting, you're going to get little wispy curlicues. You're actually going to get cuts and slices off of it. And I think of it a lot like shaving, that when I've just got the blade going flat, wherever you're shaving, ladies, whatever, wherever you're shaving, as long as you're going this way, you get a cut, and it's safe because it's not really sharp going that way. But you try moving your razor blade this way, and it makes you cringe, doesn't it? Well, that's the same kind of thing. So it's scary, but you're just shaving. When you're doing the shear cut, you're just taking off as little as possible. It's not for removing a lot of wood. But you'll see the difference between a shear cut and... Now, the other thing I put there is the pivot, and that has to do with... your hands are good for fine motor skills, but when it comes to moving a larger blade or using any force, your fine motor skills become less valuable there, and you need some bigger motor skills. And so you'll see, except that I won't demo as well as I ought to, but you'll see that I'll want to, on some of my bigger cuts, brace that up against my body and use my body to pivot the blade on it instead of having it out here with some of the smaller tools this. So if you're doing fine things, you'll do it this way. But when you want a nice broad curve, when you want a nice smooth thing, you want to pivot on the tool rest and use your hands to adjust it. There's the fine motor skills, but it's the big motor skills for moving that blade across. There's just a picture of the template that I've got, and that's also on the website, on the YouTube video. And on the tools, say, you can see there's the detail gouge, the roughing gouge, and the bowl gouge. You can get that shear cut with any of those, and even with a skew. The thing that it's not which tool, it's which one does the best for the job. If you're trying to get into a little spot in here, it's going to be tough to do that with a skew because it's a bigger blade. But you can use the edge of about any tool in the same way that you use a skew. It's just the angle becomes different. Let me see if I can show you that. Here's my skew. If I'm able to go along a curve with my skew, I can do that easily. But if I'm trying to go into a crevice, the skew is going to be tough to get on that bevel. Its angle's just wrong. I can use this scraper, which I said I wouldn't use, but you'll see how I would use it, like this. And so if you kind of compare the angles, you can say, if I have to get in this way, I'll use this, but if I have to get in this way, I'll use this. Is that making sense? But the key to it is I sure want to be using this at an angle to the wood fiber, so I'm just scraping off, just shearing off the wood. Okay? It makes a real big difference, and when you see it, when you actually see the smooth cut of a shear cut, you'll think, wow, that's just, suddenly instead of having something you've got to start with 50 grit, 60 grit sandpaper, then you're starting with 120 or 200 because it's just that much smoother if you don't have a bunch of tool marks. Okay, final question. Can we do one now? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Can you turn off the, or turn this light back on, and Larry, can you try and turn off that projector? There's a remote control in there that'll let you do that. All right. Now maybe my glue's set up by now, so I think we're okay. I just use regular CA glue. Now I showed you how to glue it up. One of the things I didn't point out was I nicked the corners off of each corner here. I should have done that in the middle also.
Robert, are you going to use the screen again?
No, I'm done with the screen. So I can go back in now and carefully kind of cut out a little hole there. And all I'm trying to do is make a little relief space for this point right here. And same thing on my drive spur. And the reason I do that is it's just super glue that's holding it. That point there is trying to push it apart. And so if you don't do that, you're likely to be breaking your super glue bond just in loading it onto the lathe.
Did you do that on the first view? Did you do that on the first one?
No, that's the reason I'm having to drill it out. Had I done this before I glued it together, I wouldn't have to drill this out. Or whatever you call that drilling. Now you could have a tailstock like this one, which is mine, that you can remove the point out of. And so I do that, I've done that with this one. This is the clubs, and I didn't want to take theirs out. So, okay, got it? Okay, so you're going to be more careful than I am, I'm sure. And I will put on some safety glasses, like I always do, honey. Wow, they fit. I didn't know.
We'll be a good dentist.
It is a good idea to wear a face shield. especially if you're doing anything heavy or large. I will probably not get up to 400 RPMs, just kind of like the guy said last, there's not a real need for speed. If you're doing nice cuts, you generally don't need it. When I load it on the lathe, I'm going to move my tool rest up close enough that it's right along the edge there, and I'm going to rotate this around, and you can see that it hit, so I know I'm still not centered. And that's probably because when I reamed it out, I didn't do a good job getting it right in the center. Okay. Okay, pretty close. If you want it closer when you're doing it, you can do it your way. Do your own demo. And I can see already that I don't have that glued together well. Again, if it was large and if I was spinning it at high speed, I'd want that a better glue joint than it's got. But okay. Anything else on that? All right. Okay, you know what? One thing I should probably also do is draw my design. So I'm going to try and do something similar to that Christmas tree, and I'm going to go somewhere between here, about like that. And so I'm going to do something like this, and a little tree trunk, and then there's the plant on it. Now obviously I'm not going to be able to see that. I drew it on your side to see it. But really the thing I want to know the most is what's the height of this going to be. So I've got two lines there. Those I will be able to see as it spins. Because I'm trying to leave a flat edge, I just want to round this out, this segment between here. But I don't want to go beyond round. If I cut into that, I'm cutting into what will be the glued up exterior surface. So the first part is pretty easy. We're just going to take it down to round real quick. This is poplar, which tears out real bad. I don't recommend it until after you've done a lot of it. You notice I'm taking off my watch, and I don't have on long sleeves. Honey? Does it show here? Okay.
On your side.
It's 422. 423. There you go.
It's 1052.
Your side. Almost there.
Start at which are good. You said poplar's not too good.
Poplar's soft, and so that makes it challenging. Something a little harder, and, well, I don't know.